Assalamu alaikum aspirants. Today we are diving deep into a crucial topic, sustainable development and the environment. This lecture is tailored for you, CSS aspirants, to help you grasp the concepts, data and policies that often appear in essay, précis and objective questions. We will cover everything from global perspectives to Pakistan specific challenges, ensuring you can analyze, critique and propose solutions in your exams. Remember, for CSS, focus on interconnections, data backed arguments, and policy implications. Let's begin. Introduction to Environment and Sustainable Development. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is sustainable development and how does it tie into our environment? Sustainable development is a multifaceted approach aimed at meeting the needs of the present generation while ensuring that future generations can also meet their own needs. It integrates environmental protection with economic growth and social equity, recognizing that human activities must not deplete natural resources or degrade ecosystems irreversibly. And think about it, aspirants. Imagine building a house today but leaving no bricks for your children tomorrow. That's the essence. The environment encompasses all living and non living elements, including air, water, soil, biodiversity, and climate systems, which provide essential services like clean air, food production, and climate regulation. Sustainable development emerges as a response to rapid industrialization and population growth, which have led to environmental degradation such as pollution and resource depletion. So, for your CSS exams, emphasize how unsustainable practices exacerbate poverty, inequality, and global crises like climate change, making sustainable development a cornerstone of international policy. In essay, you could argue that without sustainable development is merely a short-term illusion. Questions often test this. How does environmental degradation impact socio-economic progress? Keep that in mind. Key concepts of present and future needs in sustainable development. Now let's move to the core ideas. The foundational definition of sustainable development comes from the 1987 Brundtland report titled Our Common Future. And it states sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And this highlights the tension between current demands such as economic growth, energy access, and poverty alleviation, and the future requirements like preserving resources for upcoming generations. So, here are the key concepts to jot down aspirants. First, equity and intergenerational justice. Ensuring resources are used fairly today so future populations are not burdened with scarcity or environmental debt. Second, the three pillars: economic for viable growth, social for inclusive equity, and environmental for ecological integrity. These must align. And third, limits to growth, acknowledging finite planetary boundaries such as carrying capacity for population and resource extraction. And fourth, an integrated approach. Development must consider holistic impacts, avoiding short term gains that lead to long term losses like deforestation for agriculture. So, for your exams preparation, note real world applications. Developing countries like Pakistan face challenges in balancing immediate needs such as energy with future sustainability, like transitioning to renewables, and use examples. Over exploitation of fossil fuels meets present energy needs but compromise future climate stability. In CSS, this could be a pressy topic or an essay prompt like discuss the conflict between present needs and future sustainability in the context of global development, and practice framing answers with these pillars. The principle of sustainable development is rooted in meeting present needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, and this principle guides policies and practices aiming for long term sustainability. Interconnected system. So let's connect the dots literally. Sustainable development views the world as a web of interconnected systems where environmental, social, economic, and human-made elements interact dynamically. And these systems include natural capitals like ecosystem, human capital such as health and education, and social capital like communities and norms, and build capital like infrastructure. So, key interactions to understand environmental economic links. Ecosystems provide raw materials for economies, but pollution from industries degrades them and creating feedback loops like reduced agriculture yields from soil erosion. And social environmental ties. Human well being depends on clean water and air. Climate change displaces population, exacerbating inequality. And global interdependencies. Actions in one country affect others. For example, deforestation in the Amazon impacts global carbon cycles and biodiversity. And system thinking, this paradigm shifts our focus to holistic transformations, requiring changes in technologies, policies, and behaviors for sustainability. So, in the CSS context, discuss how ignoring these interconnections leads to policy failures, such as urban planning without environmental impact assessments causing floods. A great example, COVID 19, showed how health systems interconnect with the economies and environments. So, aspirants in your answers always link back. How does a failure in one system ripple to others? And this demonstrates analytical depth. सो अब हम बात करते हैं इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ बायोडाइवर्सिटी के ऊपर. बायोडाइवर्सिटी प्लेज अ क्रूशल रोल इन मेंटेनिंग इकोसिस्टम बैलेंस बाय प्रोवाइडिंग एसेंशियल सर्विसेज सच एज pollination, climate regulation, and habitat stability. And protecting biodiversity is vital for the resilience of ecosystems and the services that provide to humanity. Biodiversity is a variety of life on Earth, including species, ecosystems, and genetic diversity. And it's fundamental to sustainable development, underpinning ecosystem services essential for human survival. So, why is it so important? Let me break it down. First, ecosystem stability and resilience. Diverse species maintain balance, enabling ecosystems to withstand shocks like climate change or disasters. Second, food security and nutrition. And biodiversity supports pollination, soil fertility, and crop variety. Did you know 75% of global food crops rely on animal pollinators? Third, health and medicine. Many medicines derive from plants and animals. So, biodiversity mitigates disease spread by regulating vectors. And fourth point, economic value. It drives industries like tourism, fisheries, agriculture, and contributing trillions to global GDP. Fifth point, climate regulation. Forests and oceans absorb carbon dioxide with biodiversity, enhancing carbon sequestration. The loss of biodiversity threatens sustainable development by disrupting these services, leading to poverty and instability. So, for your CSS exams, link this to SDG 15, life on land, and argue for conservation as a development imperative. Use states like 1 million species at risk of extinction, and in Pakistan affairs tied to our own biodiversity hotspots like the Himalayas. Global policies and sustainable development. 1992. Let's talk policy CSS lovers. These global policies have evolved through multilateral frameworks to address sustainability, starting with 1992. The Rio Art Summit, UNCED, held in Rio de Janeiro, it adopted Agenda 21, a comprehensive action plan for sustainable development across environment, economy, and society. And it established principles like Rio Declaration, emphasizing environmental protection as integral to development. And key outcomes, the UNFCCC for climate change and the CBD for biodiversity. 2015. The adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations represents a global commitment to tackle pressing challenges including poverty, inequality, and climate change by 2030. So, UN adopted the 17 Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs with 169 targets to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure prosperity by 2030. Alongside the Paris Agreement under UNFCCC nations to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees centigrade with nationally determined contributions. The 2020 The UN Summit on Biodiversity, held virtually, aimed COVID-19, and it urged accelerated action on biodiversity loss and linking it to health and sustainable development. It paved the way for Montreal framework adopted in 2022 and emphasized integrating biodiversity into recovery plans. Note that 2020 also saw updates to NDC and a focus on green recovery post pandemic, and these policies show a progression from awareness in 1992 to actionable goals in 2015 and urgent implementation in 2020. So, for CSS analyze implementation challenges in developing nations, evaluate the evolution of global sustainable development policies and their relevance to Pakistan, then global data on environmental issues. The data is your weapon in CSS objectives and essays. And recent 2025 data highlights escalating crises like climate change. Global temperatures rose 1.2 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels. Then extreme weather affected 100 million people in 2024, and greenhouse gases hit records highs with carbon dioxide at 420 ppm. So अब हम डिस्कस करेंगे ग्लोबल डेटा ऑन इन्वायरमेंटल इश्यूज 1 million species at risk of extinction, UN report. Then 75% of Earth land surface significantly altered, global assessment report. 3 billion people lack access to clean air, World Health Organization. 90% of marine fish stocks are overexploited, are fully exploited. 40% of freshwater species face extinctions. World Wildlife Fund. Then 11% of global population impacted by land degradation. So memorize these stats that pop up in MCQs. अब हम डिस्कस करेंगे सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट इन पाकिस्तान. Sustainable development in Pakistan, commitment to SDGs, air pollution crisis, water scarcity. Bringing it home to Pakistan affairs, Pakistan has integrated SDGs into its national development agenda since 2015, aligning them with Vision 2025 and establishing SDG units in provinces. Our commitment includes NDC 3.0 from 2025, targeting 60% renewable energy by 2030 and linking to SDGs like 13 climate action. Air pollution poses a serious threat in urban centers, with cities like Lahore and Karachi frequently exceeding safe air quality levels, impacting public health and quality of life. So Pakistan ranks among the most polluted nations with average PM 2.5 levels exceeding World Health Organization limits by 5 to 10 times. Lahore often tops global AQI charts. Causes include vehicular emissions, industrial smoke, and crop burning. Water scarcity. Water scarcity is becoming increasingly critical due to our mismanagement affecting agriculture, productivity, and access to clean drinking water. We are facing acute stress with per capita availability dropping to 860 cubic meter per year and below the scarcity threshold. Issues over extraction, contamination with high equal, and climate induced floods or droughts. So SDG 6 progress lags due to poor sanitation, only 40% access, and mismanagement. For CSS, critique policy gaps and suggest reforms like stricter emissions standard. This is a prime essay material. Assess Pakistan progress towards SDGs in light of environmental challenges. Green initiatives. The Billion Tree Tsunami Project has successfully planted over a billion trees across the country, aiming to combat deforestation and restore ecological balance, while the Clean Green Pakistan initiative promotes sustainable practices and environmental awareness among citizens. So, on a positive note, Pakistan Green Initiative show promise. Then the 10 billion tree tsunami expanded from the Billion Tree Project and involves planting billions to combat deforestation and climate change, contributing to SDG 2015. The Green Pakistan Index ranks cities on environmental performance to promote sustainability, and is the national adaptation plan focusing on resilient agriculture and water management. And renewable energy push, solar and wind projects under NDC 3.0, wetlands conservation reformed in 2025 for Ramsar sites, adding biodiversity. And Pakistan Water Week 2025 emphasized sustainable water use and flood plain mapping. These show progress, but scaling requires international aid. In exams, evaluate effectiveness. For example, the tree planting role in carbon sequestration and suggest ways to strengthen them. So, wrapping up, aspirants, sustainable development is imperative for harmonizing human progress with environmental integrity, addressing interconnected challenges like biodiversity loss and climate change through global policies and local actions. And in Pakistan, strong SDG commitments must overcome crises like air pollution and water scarcity via robust green initiatives. For CSS 2026, focus on policy integration, data driven arguments, and balanced critics to advocate for equitable, resilient development. Practice essays, revise these points, and remember sustainability is not just a topic, it's our future. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share for more CSS guidance. See you in the next lecture.